Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Keyway, where we're looking at all things NBL. If you love the NBL, you're in the right place. And as always, hopefully, we'll sound like we know what we're talking about. So sit back, settle in, and let's step inside the Keyway. I'm Cameron Porluck, and as always, I'm joined by Nathan Shaw. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you, Cameron. Great to be here. Another great week since we last spoke. So much happens.
So much happened, yes. It was a big week. So we've obviously had the Championship Series done and dusted. Congratulations to the Sydney Kings taking it out 3-2. And well done to Adelaide for forcing it to, not just a Game 5, but an overtime in Game 5.
And well done to you, Cameron, for calling a 3-2 series win before it started.
Well, I'll take it. I will admit, after Game 1, I thought I was way off. But yes, Adelaide managed to make it go the distance. So they made me look like I know what I was talking about.
That's what we're here for.
It's very rarely that I get these things right. I even think Game 2 I picked in a group chat, I picked Sydney to win Game 2 because I was just like, after Game 1, I'm like, no, I got it completely wrong. Should have stuck with my guns. So we covered off Game 1 a couple of weeks ago, shortly after it happened. So we're not going to bother covering that game again. We will look at some of the other games though, probably not in super great detail, but we'll have a bit of a talk about them and what we thought from those, and we'll look at then, our best 5 players that we've both got for the game, for the series. And we'll also look at talking about some of the drama that went on as well. So we'll just start going through a quick recap of the games with their scores. So what did we have? Game 2. So we already know Game 1 was a blowout. Game 2 went the way of the 36ers, 91-89 in Adelaide. Game 3, 106-93 to Sydney. Game 4, 92-91 to Adelaide. And then Game 5, the overtime thriller, 13-101. Where do we start? Game 2, just a quick look at that one.
My main memory, they're kind of starting to all blur into one now. My main memory is Sydney being up by 14 in the third quarter, and I thought the game was done. I'm sure a lot of people did. I'm sure Sydney did. And then they just froze up on offense, let Bryce Cotton go. And the rest is history. That last second layup from Bryce Cotton and the drama with Kendrick after the final siren.
Yeah, which we'll get to his drama in a little bit. That's one of the drama sections. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, that the lead that Sydney had and then blowing that, letting Adelaide right back in, and then the layup by Cotton at the end. I thought that was just absolute brilliance on his part, keeping Torrey Craig at that distance. Torrey had already blocked him in a similar sort of position a little while earlier, and he managed to keep Torrey at a decent distance to make that layup and keeping his eye on the shot clock the entire time. So he knew exactly how much time he had and what he was doing. So that was pretty impressive with that one.
Another one from this game was actually Torrey Craig's game. I think he had 17 and 10.
Yeah.
Kept Sydney, kept them in it early when Adelaide were doing well. He and Cooks. I can probably get Cooks' numbers up here, but I think he was quite good on the inside as well. Cooks is 18 and 10.
Yeah.
Because obviously KD was quiet in that one.
Yeah, definitely KD's worst game of the series, but, I think he let Adelaide get to him a little bit. That crowd is pretty full on, and we've seen it destroy a number of players over time. So I definitely feel like that got to him.
And we had, for Adelaide, I think DJ and Jenkins were hitting shots that they hadn't been hitting for about 3 months prior. They were getting the open shots and actually hitting them, and that made a big difference as well. Yeah,
Jenkins probably more so, I think, in that game. DJ had his one good game, one really good game, and that was Game 4. That's typical DJ sort of thing. But yeah, other than that, and winning by 2 points. If you have a look at all those scores, I think the winning margin for Adelaide combined is 3 points?
3, yeah.
So yeah, it was close pretty much every game in Adelaide, and then the Sydney games is where Sydney were able to really take advantage of Adelaide not having their crowd to back them in. Game 3,
it's probably the uneventful game of the series.
Yeah, it really was. It felt like Sydney just led from the start and kept that one going the entire time.
In saying that, that's the one that Kendrick had 34 points, 15 assists, and 0 turnovers.
I know, right? Like, an unbelievable game. And that's kind of why it feels like it was just a blah game, because he just came out and did his thing and kept Sydney in front pretty much the entire game. So,
which I think
well done to him. That
a lot of experts
35,
the best grand final individual game they've seen.
Yeah.
Your Gazers and Anstey's and those guys who've seen many.
Yeah, it was impressive. 15 assists, which is now the best assists in a game for a grand final series, overtaking Ricky Grace with 14.
And 0 assists
and
turnovers.
Yeah, 0 turnovers. It's just
crazy.
Phenomenal. And in all honesty, because you then had Bryce Cotton with 12 assists that game, or 13 assists himself.
15 and 12.
Yeah.
15 and 12.
Yeah. So not a great scoring game by him, but his assists were up the entire series as well. So
it was another good Jenkins game. Jenkins had 20 odd. Cheatham as well. I think he was really good for the last 3 games.
Yes. Yeah.
He had 17 and 10.
Yeah. Jenkins was kind of the same. He had good game 2, game 3, game 4, and then game 5 kind of fell off the track a little bit. And Cheatham was, game 3, game 4, game 5 was looking pretty good all the way through there, which did make, when we get to it, my best 5 kind of difficult as to who I put in that.
Yes.
Game 4, back in Adelaide once again. That crowd going absolutely wild, and came down to a missed Torrey Craig free throw descended into overtime. I did see someone ask whether he missed that intentionally, trying to go and grab the rebound and put it back in for the win, but the person that asked that was Body Nodge on his podcast, and Brett Maher was just like, no, it looked like he tried to hit it but realised he short-armed it straight away and was trying to make the go for it to grab the rebound, but unfortunately he missed that free throw, and that was that.
And he didn't have a great game.
No.
Even before that, he was not hitting shots. He was fouling. He was struggling with Cotton. Cotton was getting calls, and it was frustrating him. Yeah, and which he carried into the next one as well. He didn't.
Yes.
Until the end. Yeah,
it was interesting. Yeah, I was just watching another podcast that he was on with Joe Healy, her podcast Off the Rim, and he was saying that he had fouled Cotton. It was one where he'd gone across Cotton and Cotton had kicked out, and he copped Cotton's leg as a result of that. And they called a foul on him, and he's like, in the NBA that's an offensive foul, whereas over here it's a defensive foul.
It's a Bryce Cotton.
Yeah, and that's basically what he said. It's a Bryce Cotton call. You can't. How do you defend it then if you're not allowed to get in front? It's basically you've got, it's an open shot for him. You can't defend it. So,
and sometimes some of the drives that Cotton was making to the hoop, it's almost like he makes himself flat. And how can you're going to hit his arms or his legs, or Dellavedova was getting him on the hip, and he's just so good at looking so badly off balance and flailing that he gets the call every time. Yeah, it would drive me around the bend trying to stop that guy. And
absolutely.
That's probably why no one can.
Yeah. Well, I thought they did a fairly good job through most of it, keeping his scoring down. They were really doing well keeping that ball out of his hands or getting it out of his hands, which is, I think that's how you defend him, is to get it out of his hands. So, they'd double team him when they could or force him to the side that he doesn't like to go. So I do think they did quite a good job, but yeah, you're never actually stopping him.
That's it, and I think that's Adelaide's big move in the off season, is to find someone who's going to be able to hit that shot consistently when he has to pass it off. They had Jenkins and DJ, who are very streaky. Cameron was probably his most reliable, getting out to him. They just need to find someone who can either shoot or take off to the hole themselves. But they'll work on that.
Yeah. Well, and I think he's come out and said that this week, that they need someone who can score the ball consistently and athletic.
Yeah.
So that's what he kind of would like to see.
And maybe play some defense.
Yeah, and I think that's key for them, that someone who can actually play that defensive spot as well, which, Jenkins I don't think was ever that, which is why he was kind of that odd choice to bring in. He kind of gave you exactly what DJ gave you.
Absolutely. It'd be a Torrey Craig type that they could do with, to be honest. That sort of play anywhere from 2 to 4.
Yes. Yep. I did see someone say that they just need to go and steal Torrey Craig. I don't think he'd go to Adelaide. I don't even know if he'll be back in the league next year. I think he may wind up with another NBA contract. At least for the remainder of this NBA season. We'll see. He's starting to get a little bit on in years, but he's still producing exactly what is needed here in the league, in the NBL. Absolutely. And then Game 5, the overtime thriller. So what a game that was. Had a bit of everything. Adelaide up. Thought that they were going to win it, and
when
they
Cotton
shut the
hit
bed.
That 3, that's exactly what they did. When Cotton hit that 3 and again was fouled, I can't remember. It might have been Torrey Craig again. I thought it was done. I think they were even up by 4 with 30 seconds left or 40 seconds left. I thought they were up then, but Cotton was massive. He just ran out.
Ran out of steam. Didn't have enough contributors.
Yeah, that's it.
Flynn Cameron fouling out.
Yeah, and Rakocevic as well.
And Rakocevic, they just ran out of steam in the end, really, and didn't have anything to go. Sydney in overtime, yes, Daly was fouled out, threw Malawatch on. He had barely played for the game and full of energy and knew the assignment. And, what a block and a big block on Cotton and a steal as well, and just really opened it up in that overtime period.
And Adelaide only played 7 players that whole game, and 2 of them fouled out. So no wonder they were done. White and Kenyon didn't even get on the court, I don't think.
No, and I don't understand why you wouldn't have Kenyon on for his defensive clout, especially when you're up a little bit. So I kind of think, that's some coaching decision there. And we'll touch on that in a little while too.
And they put DJ on Davis, which, DJ's certainly not known for being a defensive stopper. And they had White and Kenyon sitting there who could have come on bits and pieces, and surprise, Kendrick killed him.
Yeah, another monster game. 35 points, 14 assists that game. I didn't see the turnovers, but I'm pretty certain it was pretty minimal as well.
Yeah, it just really strange choices. He had 4 turnovers. And again, his support crew was just better than Adelaide's. Suarez had 20. Cooks was really good, 19 and 12. Galloway was very good, 16.
Yeah, and, Galloway's one of those ones that, he had a really good series, but doing it all with a injured shoulder. That it's, from what I've read, he'll be having surgery in the off season for that. So, that's kind of takes you back to one of Sydney's last championships with Now his name's completely...
Glover.
That's the one. Thank you. You know, him playing injured.
Broken ribs.
Yep. So, yeah, takes you back to that kind of thing that these guys who injured and give it their absolute all and, you know, help make the team a championship team. So, yes, and yeah, Sydney walk away with it with the big win and, you know, in front of just over 18,000 people. And I actually I think that needs to be applauded as well, not just with Sydney but with Adelaide. Those last four games, all sellouts.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive, just huge crowds at all of them. So well done to the Adelaide and Sydney fans for getting out and supporting your team. I still think Adelaide, despite being probably 8,000 people less,
twice as loud.
So yeah, well done Adelaide fans. You certainly give it absolutely everything and make that a hard place to win in, as we saw. So, but yeah, well done to Sydney. And now we get on to, you know, the off season, and we'll see what happens there. But we are decided to have a bit of a look at our best 5 players. So I'll let you go first, and you can give us your best 5. We'll see how similar they are.
I think they're going to be quite similar. I don't think I've got anything crazy here. I got Delhi at 5, just the job he did on Bryce Cotton, and just the experience that every time he saw KD losing his mind, Delhi was standing next to him, getting in his ear. 5 seconds later, he's always the first over to him. And then in Game 5, he hit those 2 really big threes in a row when Adelaide decided to leave him open and give him no shots. And they were really big ones at the time, and he hit them both. I think he had 3 for the game, 3 in reasonably quick succession, but 2 of them were back-to-back, and they were massive. So he gets 5, 5th. Had Cheatham at 4. It could have been 3, but 4. He had 3 really big games in a row, almost a triple-double in Game 4, I think. Everyone talked about someone's got to help Bryce out, and I think he was probably the best offsider. But late in games, he still seems to be hesitant to go to the hoop. He catches the ball at the top of the key and he's open, and he seems to just turn around, pivot, looking for Bryce Cotton. So I'd love to see some more aggression there, but he gets 4. I had Galloway at 3. Hit massive shots at massive times. Didn't look overawed at all, which I guess he wouldn't be because he was there for the previous championships, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So he's been there, done it before. It's kind of the FIBA Galloway that we saw earlier in the year finally turned up. He was really, really good. Bryce Cotton 2 and KD at 1.
Nice. Yeah. Well, those two are pretty obvious as to why.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit different. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So 1, obviously Davis. You know, only one bad game. That was Game 2. Cotton, you know, just did Cotton things.
Yeah.
At the 3rd spot, I had Cooks. I just thought he was solid all series. His only, and it's a continuation of his whole season, free throws, 50-something%. Please fix that. Go in the off-season, work on that. Yeah,
you lose Game 4 by 1 point, and he missed so many free throws in that game.
Yeah. I think that was my big thing from that 4th game was free throws. And, you know, if anyone's watched the Bullets Nation podcast, especially early in the season, that was one of my biggest bugbears was free throws. And it's one of my things that I hate seeing is poor free throw shooting from professional players.
Yep.
Anything below 70%, and you need to be putting up 100 of those every practice.
Especially considering how often he's at the line and how
because he does. He does so well at getting to the basket, and he gets fouled so often. So yeah, definitely work on it. Figure out what his yips are and fix them as soon as possible. 4th spot, I've got Delhi. I don't think the Kings win the series without him. I really don't. He just did such a job on Cotton. Sure, some of it you could argue, some of it, you know, was not necessarily always legal. Was it game 3 where he didn't have a single foul? A little bit weird, but he just, such a solid job on him. And then in 5th spot, I had Suarez.
Yeah,
I must admit, I did struggle with last spot because there are a number of others that could easily slot into that space. But, once again, he was solid pretty much the entire series. I thought he did really well in keeping Humphreys and Rakocevic sort of semi-quiet, and when they were losing the rebounds, he really got in and dug in deep for that. And, he forces that game 5 into overtime with that offensive board and the putback. So for me, that slotted him into that 5th spot just. But I had on. Yep, you're right.
I was going to say he did a really good job of getting under Rakosevic's skin by just existing, by just breathing.
Yes. Yeah. And he does that really, really well against a lot of other bigs.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do much. He just needs to exist and be in their space.
Yeah. Well, I had Cooks and Suarez as 6 and 7. So
yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anyone else.
I've got honourable mentions for Cheatham, Torrey Craig, and Galloway. So those 3 I think really stood out quite well as well. So
and I just made some.
I'd probably go Cheatham, Craig, then Galloway.
I made some quick notes on other people. Isaac Humphreys, I don't think it was used properly. Rakocevic did his job. DJ Streaky had to be stuck on KD, which shouldn't have been his job, but he did what DJ does. White and Kenyon were just abandoned by the coach. Torrey Craig went cold in those last 2 games. Malawatch and Noy just went very cold the longer the series went on. Actually, Noy was cold from day dot.
Yeah, Noy in particular, I was really surprised by Noy.
He looked like he had no confidence when he got on the court.
Yeah.
He took some very strange shots. But, I mean, he's the sort of guy who's always backed himself in to take a shot and probably only needed to hit one of them to get his confidence back, but they just wouldn't go in. Malawatch's minutes went down as the series went on, but he still, when he was on there, he still had his moments.
Yep. Yeah, I think his minutes dropped off a little bit, but he stayed ready. He was ready to go the moment they called on him to get in and do his thing. I always say in these types of series, DJ gives you one great game and that's it. He doesn't do much else. Most of the time he might hit a 3 here and there, that usually when they really need it, but the rest of the time he doesn't really seem to do too much. That's just my opinion on him.
Do you think he'll be there next season?
He's signed, so I expect him to be.
If Wells is there, I don't think he'll be there.
Yeah, we know that contracts mean nothing.
Yeah.
The question that I've got is, where does he go? Who wants him?
Yeah.
And we'll get to some of that drama stuff, which now we can talk about all the drama that unfolded. We'll start with Kendrick's behaviour.
Yeah.
What do you make of it?
Crazy. I just thought it was crazy when after game 2, when Cotton had his moment and he got in his face, I just thought that was just insane. I'd heard an interview or heard someone talking about it afterwards, and apparently that's the way he motivates himself, which, look, if that's what works for you and you're willing to wear the criticism, then it obviously worked for him because he was very motivated after that.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I thought he did really well to not react in the game after, in games 3, 4, and 5, apart from at full time in game 3 when he again had to go.
Yeah.
He didn't react to hard fouls. He didn't react to the crowd. All of those experienced people in Sydney that he's got there to help him out must have really gotten in his ear because he battened down the hatches.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty yes, the game 2 incident, where at the initial is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But then, you I sat back and was just like, well, maybe that's motivation. And then it comes out that guess that's how he motivates himself. That was his motive, and it clearly worked because he came out, he backed himself game 3 and had that amazing game and sort of continued to do extremely well for the rest of the series after that. So, you know, if that's what he needs to motivate himself, well, so be it. And, you know, even Cotton said that they grew up playing street ball, and that's kind of the street ball thing. That's how they are. And I watch a lot of the street ball stuff on YouTube and so forth, and it most definitely is how they are, how they act and behave. So it's just a part of that. It's usually their motivation. They're usually not really mean too much toward the other player that they're doing it to. So yeah, you know, it doesn't look great, but hell, it got everyone talking.
Yeah, it did.
So I, in all honesty, keep doing it. Yeah, it makes things.
And that's what was getting the headlines afterwards. That the next one that I'm sure you're about to touch on, all the drama gets the headlines over the games.
Yes, the off-court shenanigans between Bogut and Grant Kelly.
Yeah.
I must admit, I do follow Bogut on Twitter, so I did see his tweets that he put out. What I found funny with this one was there would have been nothing to it if Grant Kelly had not said anything to the media. He's the one who ran to the media, or may not ran to it, but he's the one who brought it up and said what was said. He could have just gone straight to the NBL, made a complaint about Bogut and what he said. And, you know, if asked about it in the media, all he would need to do is, I've raised it with the NBL. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. But he decided to actually put out there what Bogut allegedly said. So, yeah. And, you know, so Bogut went out. Bogut didn't actually say anything. If you have a look, at no time did he mention Grant Kelly's name. It was all implied as to who he was talking about. So, yeah, I kind of lay this one. Yes, Bogut probably, if he said what he allegedly said, should have just, you know, not have said anything at all, but we wouldn't have known anything about it if Kelly hadn't have spilled to media. I
think there's a lot of carryover from earlier in the season when Bogut went on social media and said that Adelaide had a players only meeting about the coach or something that just stirred trouble. But I think it just comes back to Bogut being an owner / assistant coach, and if he should be saying things like that.
Yeah, which I get.
Yeah, I don't think he should be. He loves it. He loves stirring trouble.
Yeah.
And you're not going to stop him. No. He's been doing that since we started seeing him out here since he came back.
Yeah, since he's come back, it's just who he's been. He's outspoken. He says what he wants and doesn't really care about the rules or, you know, whether he'll be sanctioned or not.
Which makes me wonder if anyone at the Sydney Kings can ask him to pull his head in, or maybe they can't.
Yeah, I don't think the majority owner cares all that much what he says and does. So, you know, they may have chats to him occasionally, who knows, and just say, look, just pare it back a little bit. But I doubt that they do. I think they see it as good publicity for the team. You know?
Yeah, that's it. The NBL certainly do.
Yeah. There's no such thing as bad publicity, even when the shenanigans don't look great. It's all good for the publicity of the competition. So, and they certainly fed on it themselves as well. The NBL did. So yeah, I look, and the picture that Bogut put up was kind of funny.
Peter Griffin, was it that?
Yeah, it was Peter Griffin with the 2 basketballs. So you kind of had to know like who he was talking about for it to make any sense. And the fact that, you know, it's implied, he didn't actually put a name to it. And the fact that Grant Kelly clearly saw that and went, hey, that's me. I'm like, you don't think much of yourself then?
Yeah.
So, yes. But, you know, and he could have, look, Bogut could have used an actual photo of Grant Kelly picking his nose because that's floating around the internet. I've got that one somewhere from one of the games where he's sitting next to Larry Kesselman picking his nose.
Yeah, and then Adelaide came and pressed the press release about body shaming, and then Sydney
and bullying and stuff. Yep.
Press release saying they're not interested in what's happening off the court. They're trying to win. Yeah, Sydney won the battle and the war there.
Yes, and that sort of brings me to the next little bit of drama off the court, which was DJ once again going after a media person online.
Yeah.
And his comments before Game 5 regarding the Kings and
how they didn't want him, and the person who didn't want him is not there anymore. I really tried to think about who that might be, but I've got no idea.
No. But yeah, Adelaide complaining about bullying and stuff like that, and DJ making comments about a media person that, it's pull your head in just a little bit. I do have my comment here. Is he the league's biggest potato?
Oh, yeah. I see. I wonder if he might go to the Bullets if he leaves Adelaide, and I wonder how you'd go with that. That was what I was
No, thank you. Before. I would struggle. I would really struggle with him coming to the Bullets.
Because did he play under Weaver in Sydney?
I think he may have.
Yeah, so I reckon if Wells is staying, I don't think DJ is, and I reckon the Bullets would be a red hot chance there.
Yeah, I would be. Take away the off-court personality stuff. Just him as a player, I'm not a fan either. Yeah. He's way too streaky, way too unreliable on the offensive end.
Yeah.
And doesn't give you a lot defensively. And that's something we know the Bullets desperately need is defense. So I don't think he works from that standpoint, but I guess you could say that they do need someone who can shoot as well. So yeah, I may be eating my words come the start of the season.
Yeah, that's a good chance.
I think that's the biggest drama that was happening during all of it. And there's clearly a bit of drama going on at the moment, in particular with Adelaide. Rumours are abound that Mike Wells may be out the door.
Which in the last hour, Adelaide have come out and said it's not true.
Yes, yeah. So Matt Weston has come out and said that there's no truth to any of those rumours and that he's contracted for next season. I always find those kind of words a little bit worrying because we know whenever those types of things get said, there's usually winds up being some truth to the rumour. We know contracts mean very little for coaches in this league.
And we know Trevor Gleason's out there looking for a job, and we know Bryce Carlton loves Trevor Gleason.
Yep.
And we know that Adelaide players and Wells don't particularly see eye to eye.
Yeah, and that's part of the rumour is that it's personality clashes with players and some other staff members as well. That's what was reported. So, who knows? They're saying that he's part of all the talks that have been going on. You would kind of expect him to be a part of the exit talks anyway. So, as to what some of those other talks are, whether they're planning for next season, I believe that he's a part of those as well. But yeah, he's a coach. Coaching contracts can be terminated. They did it to Scotty Ninnis to bring Mike Wells in. So we know that doesn't hold a lot of stock, really. The only other thing, and it's not really even drama, it's just a little bit of news regarding the Kings. Looks like Sean Bruce is on the way out. Apparently he's already been told that he won't be returning to the Kings as they're looking at making a play for Luke Paul. And just for those who don't know, he's 6'6" point guard from Western Australia who is going to be one of the new next stars. So it sounds like the Kings are making a major push for him, which I think there's a lot of teams that are making a push for him, but you've got to look at, who the Kings have.
Yeah.
Gorge, Bogut, Daly, Longley.
Yeah.
And, it'd be crazy not to think that they're at the top of the list for where he'll end up. So, yeah, bit sad for Bruce, for Sean Bruce. He was one of my favourite Bullet players when they came back. I really liked his game and was sad when they let him go. And he's gone on and, he's 3 championships now with the Kings.
And I think I saw he's played the second most games for any Sydney Kings player ever.
Yeah. So I hope he kind of gets one more season round so he can end things his way. But, he's just won a championship. So if he decides to call it a day, at least he goes out on top. So, but yeah, I'd like to see him go around one more time. He's one of those bench players that, can come on. He's one of those instigators, one of those agitators.
One of those definitely. He can talk. I've heard that just from interviews and stuff, he can talk with the best of them.
Yeah, and I think every team needs one of those guys coming off the bench. So that's pretty much all that I've heard. I think that's all the drama that we had. Actually, there was one little bit of other drama that I did get that I saw listening to the No Flop Zone with Body Nodge, and he had Brett Maher on, and Brett had said that he wasn't able to get tickets to the games, which is, legend of the club, has his name on their home court and everything. He tried to get tickets through the management and nothing. So clearly there are some issues there between management and the legends of the club. And
I love Brett Maher, and I'll never say a bad word about him. But I remember when Ninnis was fired, Brett Maher and Ninnis worked together and they're best friends and all of that. And Maher disassociated himself with the club. So maybe he wiped his hands of them and then came crawling back when there was good games on.
Yeah, possibly.
But I love Brett Maher, so he wouldn't do that.
Seems that it just seems that even when things are going well for the 36ers, there's always dramas off the court. Just Adelaide being Adelaide, really.
Which I love to see. I love it.
And
I find it entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's always good. It takes some of the light off the Bullets and their dramas, so I'm always happy for it. On to news. There's not really a lot. We've probably covered some of the news off with the things that we've already spoken about. But I do know NBL free agency starts 10 a.m. on Friday, the 17th of April. So that's next Friday. We're recording on the Thursday, April 9th. So, yeah, just over a week from today, it kicks off that morning. So hopefully they do a live marketplace like they have previous seasons.
Yep.
And I'll have that playing on the background while I'm working, and hopefully we'll have a lot of news early on, unlike the start of this free agency period that we've just, for the season that it's just finished. It was pretty quiet for that one to start off with. So I don't know if you've heard anything else.
No, it's been really quiet. It's been all grand final based this year, I think. Oh, this week, sorry. Yeah. I don't think I've heard anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good because I'm pretty much the same. I've had a busy week, but hopefully I think I've caught all of it. So questions without notice. We'll I will admit did we steal questions without notice?
From an AFL radio show in Melbourne.
Okay.
Has someone had a go? Have the lawyers called?
No. It's just that Body Nodge stole it on his timeout.
Hey, maybe he
only had one. He had a question. Yeah, well, that's he was stealing our questions without notice. So I'm actually stealing his question. So, and the question is, if Bull Qual doesn't go down, did the Kings, one, still bring in Torrey Craig because they had that spot up their sleeve, and two, do they actually make and win the championship?
Yeah, I think they would still bring him in because I think they still needed something to get over the hump. So I think, yes, they bring him in, and yes, they still win, I think.
They still win if they bring him in. Yeah. What if they didn't bring him in? Do you think they win with Bull Qual?
No, maybe not. Maybe not. He added a lot. I mean, Bull Qual's great, but Craig gave them the job he did at Bryce Cotton, for example. Is Bull Qual doing that same job?
Yeah. Probably not. And those, first 3 games, really, he kept that scoreboard ticking over for them when they were kind of struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
With Torrey Craig, that is. Yeah. Because I'm in agreement. Had they not brought him in and Bull Qual was still good to go, it would have been, I think the games would have been close, but I think Adelaide would have come out on top with that, considering how close they were to begin with. So, yeah. So, if they didn't bring Torrey Craig in and only had Bull Qual, I think Adelaide actually win the series.
And Sydney may not have
I only had the one. Yeah.
Sydney may not have gotten second spot. Sydney may not have gotten past Perth. Who knows? Who knows what would have happened?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got
a
couple for you here. Back on Gleeson potentially going to Adelaide, which of course must stress is all hearsay at the moment. Is this a typical Adelaide thing to do, or is it a good justified move?
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think it's a typical Adelaide move, but I also think it's justified. I don't know if Wells has the full capacity to get them across the line. Like, I know, and it sounds crazy because they were one free throw, one layup shy of, or one rebound shy of winning the championship.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a bit of both. I think if they were to bring Gleeson in, that he will make things work better for Cotton.
Yeah.
He will find the players to bring in to work around and ensure Cotton has what he needs.
And he will remove the drama.
Yeah. I think Wells just adds to the drama.
Yeah. Yep. That's an excellent answer. Where do you rank the Sydney Kings championship team among all-time championship teams? Would you have them up there?
No. They're down a ways still, just because they really should have put Adelaide away after that first game, and they let them back in. Like, you look at game 2, they handed Adelaide that game, and same with game 4. They were up as well in that game. So, they're an exceptionally good team, no doubt about it, but I don't think they'd still be top 10.
I think if they had kept on that winning run that they went into the final on and swept, then we'd be talking about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I agree.
And my last question is not a question, it's just a statement. Brian Goorjian. We haven't spoken about him this whole time. I think we need to give him some love.
Yeah, absolutely. The GOAT of coaching in the NBL, surely he has to be now. He's been doing it, since 1992, and he's still able to turn teams into championship contenders and winning them. Just an absolute phenomenal job by the GOAT.
Okay. I started watching the NBL in 91, and that was his first year coaching the Spectres with his beautiful perm. Then he went to the Magic next year. So that's 91. That's 20. Oh, my maths. 20. That's so many years ago. 35 years ago.
35 years ago.
That's 35 years ago. And the game has changed so much in that time. And he was winning then and is winning now.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially when you look at how they started the season. And, he was copying it left, right, and centre. So,
yeah.
To turn it around the way he did just shows the calibre of a coach that he still actually is today.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty much it for this episode of Inside the Keyway. If you've enjoyed this episode, as always, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. And share it with someone who who loves the NBL as much as you do and as much as we do. You know where to find us: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We push all out to those three, and we're on the socials as well. So check us out there. And always leave us any questions or thoughts that you've got. Leave them in the comments. And so until next time, keep watching the spacing, respect the shot clock, and we'll see you inside the Keyway.
Let's get some free agent signings happening.